Hello, welcome to الكرامة News Service, and we start our top stories for today with the latest developments in Libya. New fighting erupted in Bohdima neighborhood Benghazi between Libyan armed forces and remnants of terrorist Daesh militants in Benghazi, which led to displacement of a number of families. The clashes came after the arrival of support for terrorist militias in Benghazi through Miri support in the city area. The air force of the armed forces had targeted a boat carrying arms and ammunition to militias on the shores of the city. 4 people were wounded by removal of one of the rockets that fell to explode behind a pasta factory in Al-Lethi district in Benghazi. Information office of the military engineering reported that one of the blind rockets exploded during the coming to the region by engineering department members and the youth volunteers. The office noted during the last 2 days that the region witnessed bombing of various types of rockets by terrorist militias. Moreover, the information office announced that names of the injured people are as follows: رضا عواد بوغزبة وليد عبد الرازق العقوري عاطف بوبكر محمد and محمد حلمي العوامي. An armed forces source said that a limited arms deal with Serbia was signed and is based on supply of light and medium weapons, as well as possessing additional ammunition and military equipment. Brigadier Masoud Arhouma noted that he had visited Serbia at the behest of General Khalifa Haftar and discussed with high-ranking military officials the possibility of providing the Libyan armed forces with some equipment and weapons, despite the continuing international embargo on arms supply to Libya. Moreover, Arhouma stressed that Serbia has accepted to arm the national army in order to counter terrorist armed groups and terrorist Daesh group. And still Libya, a medical source confirmed that Al-Gala hospital received 10 martyrs and 25 wounded civilians following random shelling which targeting residential neighborhoods in Benghazi during the month of June. The medical source noted that the martyrs and the wounded people are of all ages and nationalities, and their injuries vary from simple, medium and critical due to random projectile shrapnels. The sources added that some of them received treatment and left immediately after receiving first aid. National mobility of Tuareg in the south called on all political parties to reach a quick national consensus to help the countries avoid a crisis on economic, social and political levels. The national mobility said in a statement that there must be a dialogue, rejection of separation and avoidance of rivalry between sons of the one homeland, adding that Tuareg national mobility in the south supporters all initiatives aimed at reaching a national consensus on the final dialogue draft of Sikhairat that was introduced by the United Nations mission. And about the interim government, Prime Minister Abdullah al-Thani warned of a prejudice to the Libyan sovereignty if the European Union has approved a plan to cope with illegal immigration and its ships approaching the Libyan coast, especially the Gulf of Sirte. This came during his official visit to Malta, which ended yesterday. Al-Thani also noted that the delegation headed by him to the Malta held productive meetings with Maltese officials on means of developing cooperation between the two countries in various fields and activating the agreements signed between Libya and Malta in fields of energy and training and rehabilitation of the Libyan culture. The delegation also tackled illegal immigration crisis and its repercussions on the Mediterranean countries. Arab League Secretary General Dr. Nabil Al-Arabi held a telephone call this afternoon with the UN envoy to Libya, Bernardino Leon, during which they discussed latest developments of the situation in Libya and results of the ongoing Libyan National Dialogue sessions under United Nations auspices. The Secretary General stressed that the Arab League supports efforts exerted by Bernardino Leon in order to ensure the signing of all Libyan parties on the final draft of political agreement. Al-Arabi called on on all concerned Libyan parties and personalities to accelerate signing of the agreement draft and to maintain the supreme national interest of the Libyan people so they can start implementation of terms of this agreement and the achievement of political transition to form a government of national reconciliations and to meet the aspirations of the Libyan people in achieving security, stability and rebuilding of Libyan institutions. On to Yemen, airstrikes by Arab coalition forces killed 30 civilians in an attack on a market in northern Yemen today as UN mediators pushed for a humanitarian pause in fighting that has killed nearly 3,000 since March. The airstrike targeting Al-Ham market in Hajjah province where preliminary figures showed that 30 civilians were killed and an unspecified number of people were wounded. Houthi forces launched rockets against a number of Saudi army positions, including a military airport in the southern city of Najran. An Arab coalition led by Saudi Arabia has been pounding the Houthi forces and allied army units loyal to former President Ali Abdullah Saleh since March in a campaign to restore President Abdurrahman Mansour Hadi to power. The fighting occurred amid efforts by U.S. Special Envoy to Yemen, Ismail Sheikh Ahmad, to arrange pausing fighting until the end of Muslim holy month of Ramadan on July 17 to allow for deliveries of humanitarian aid. Sheikh Ahmad travels to Sana'a today for talks with Houthis after discussions in Muscat, Oman. Political sources in Muscat said Saudi-led forces had demanded guarantees that Houthis and allied army units would not use the pause to keep advancing on areas held by forces allied or loyal to Hadi in south and eastern Yemen. My audience to Iraqi military sources said today terrorist Daesh suicide bombers attacked the center of Iraq's northern oil refinery town of Beji overnight, forcing the army and Shiite fighters to pull back. The latest terrorist Daesh offensive comes after authorities said they controlled nearly the whole town and expected to drive insurgents from the refinery within days. The militants attacked around 8 yesterday with 2 suicide car bombings. The blasts were followed by fierce clashes that lasted until midnight and drove the army and Hashd Shah forces from the center of town, 2 army colonels said. Army officers said the army and Hashd groups were preparing a response to the latest Daesh attack. The town of Beji and its refinery, Iraq's largest, have been a battlefront for more than a year. The terrorists seized the town in June 2014 as they swept through much of northern Iraq towards the capital Baghdad. Control of Beji neighborhoods has changed hands many times during the conflict. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said today that Iranian nuclear agreements is possible this week if Tehran makes the hard choices necessary, but if not, the United States remains ready to walk away from negotiations. Speaking after the third meeting of the day with Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif, Kerry said that they had made genuine progress in talks over the last few days, but several of the most difficult issues remain. If hard choices get made in the next couple of days, made quickly, we could get an arrangement this week, but if they are not made, we will not, he said outside the hotel where talks between Iran and the United States and 5 other powers are being held. Kerry said negotiators were still aiming for that deadline, but other diplomats have said that the talks could slip to July 9, the day by which the Obama administration must submit a deal to Congress in order to get an expedited 30-day review. The agreement under discussion would require Iran to curb its most sensitive nuclear work for a decade or more in exchange for relief from sanctions that have slashed its oil exports and crippled its economy. In the meantime, Kerry said U.S. President Barack Obama's administration, which has been accused of making too many concessions by Republican members of Congress, remains ready to abandon the talks. My audience, that is the wrap-up of our top stories for today. For much more, you can check our website, www.الكرامة.tv. Thanks for watching us. My greeting, رانيا البليدي.